Hello, everybody, and we thank you for joining us for another episode of Advocacy. Tonight, strap in because we got a lot of information coming your way. We have on here the Michigan Council for Exceptional Children. We're so excited because this is us. They're going to provide information regarding services that's available to a lot of our special needs parents. So I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Paula Armstrong. I live in the DMV. I have two children, Jeremy, that's 24, and my special package from God, my Morgan Pop, who's 20 years old. Crystal?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Crystal Francis, and I'm located in Michigan. I'm married with five children, and some of them do have special needs.
Okay.
I am Dania Stump, and I am the secretary with Michigan Council for Exceptional Children. I live here in Michigan. I've been a special educator for 30 years, and I have two adult daughters, one of whom just got married this past Friday. So it's been a
Congratulations.
lot of things going on in my life lately.
And I am Nicole Zimmerman. I am our membership coordinator for Michigan Council for Exceptional Children. I am a teacher in the Metro Detroit area, and I have an 18-month-old son and my husband here at home. And I've been in education now for over 10 years. So it's really exciting to be on here.
Okay. So, of course, I want to say that me and Nicole linked up because of one of the networks with Crystal, someone that she's networked with. But we're excited to learn so much about the Michigan Council for Exceptional Children. So, with that
Yes.
being said, Nicole and Dania, I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Well, thanks, Paula. We appreciate that. So I'm going to have Dania start by talking about our conference this year. It's actually our 85th conference, so we're very excited about that. So whenever you're ready, Dania.
This year, as Nicole mentioned, Michigan Council for Exceptional Children will be hosting their 85th annual conference in Grand Rapids at the Amway Grand. And it's really cool because 2025 is also the 100th year of IDEA. So we're very excited to celebrate that. And our theme this year is Michigan Celebrates Every Child. So we're really excited to have a variety of attendees and presenters targeting sessions from IEP planning to working with families, early childhood, all the way up to adult transitions programs. The conference will be held on from February 26th through 28th, again at the Amway Grand in Grand Rapids. So this year on the 26th, which is our Wednesday day, we're offering a variety of Wednesday workshops. So you get to choose 2 half-day sessions to go and listen to some amazing speakers. We have everything from like code teaching to legal ease around writing an IEP or being a person with an IEP. Our keynote address this year will be delivered by Dr. Shelley Moore, who is amazing and a global leader in inclusive practices and education. So we're super excited to have her on the 27th as our keynote. And then throughout Thursday and Friday, those 2 days are our most highly attended days of the conference. And we're offering 90 different breakout sessions over those 2 days that you could choose from to go and hear, again, a variety of different topics. We also have the Michigan Department of Education, our special education team, that will come and provide some critical updates on things happening across the state, and also hosting a town hall. So we always put out a call for questions that people might have that could be asked at that town hall. So anyone can submit a question, a parent, an educator, anybody who has an interest in the life of a child with exceptionalities. But one of the biggest, most exciting parts of our conference happens on Thursday night, and it's our annual recognition and scholarship reception that is hosted over at the DeVos Center. And we have our call out right now for nominations for the variety of awards. So we have the Yes I Can Awards, which feature students. And there's a variety of different ways students can be nominated through self-advocacy, through the arts, through sports, just through general functioning in school. And then we have a teacher of the year. We have a parent of the year. We have a small business of the year. So we have featured businesses that employ adults with special needs. Or last year we featured the Living Learning Enrichment Center, which is located here in Michigan. And they are a nonprofit founded by a parent and teacher that supports adults with special needs once they leave that kind of post-secondary world, helps them find job placements, gives them skills for independent living. It is a very, very emotional night, very motivating. You get to hear some amazing stories of families and schools working together and children advocating for themselves. And you never know what the award winners are going to say when they get up there. We've had imitations, we've had kids break out in song. So it's just such an amazing night. And I seriously smile every time I think about that night. And one of the things that we really are hoping this year is to increase our family caregiver attendees at the conference. So we're really hoping that we see that number grow. Professionals can earn continuing ed hours if they attend, which is also a great benefit to them.
Wow. Well, we will be attending. Advocacy will be there. We are
Yes.
so excited. So we are one of the registered vendors, and we want to, of course, display our podcast. And we call this, we talked about this earlier, but one thing that we, when I did talk with someone, they were like, you guys are almost a support group that, you know, when you think about it, that's giving people an opportunity to kind of talk about what they've gone through or what they're going through. And it makes it a lot easier when you feel like you're not alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we are definitely coming.
We have a whole ballroom of vendors, which is amazing because it gives families and professionals a chance to kind of network with each other, network with the different companies, the nonprofits. We have an assistive technology playground, so people can come in and try out the different types of assistive technology in there. And then one thing I forgot to mention as part of all of that, we have sponsors for our conference. And what happens with the sponsorships is they allow us, to give out those honors and recognitions, but in addition, we will give out what we call camperships. So families can apply, say your child attends a camp in the summer and you could use a little financial support, and this would help kind of offset the cost of the camp. And then we also give out a few college scholarships to students who have gone through school with IEPs, so they can have a little bit extra financial support to start out their journey.
That is awesome.
I think that's amazing, especially the campership, because I do know, especially where I'm located, a lot of parents start early, like pretty much at the beginning of the year of searching out those camps. By the time you think about it in March, you're kind of late. You're on a waiting list. And then also it's the cost of camps. Like they really want their kids, young adults, and some just adults or seniors to have these experiences. And, you know, sometimes that's another factor is cost. So I love this campership. That would definitely really be helpful for many families.
We recognize that camps, especially those that are supporting children with special needs, they're expensive.
Very expensive.
So whatever we can do to help support a few families and doing that, we're happy to do.
And most of those families, most of them don't receive funding. So, you know, if you have a child, and that's one of the things that we talked about when we interviewed our families is, you know, my son was in college, but at the same time, Morgan still was going to camp. So here I am juggling both, and my son didn't get any financial aid. Morgan didn't get any financial aid. But, you know, it's kind of hard when a lot of things that involve your special needs individuals, because we know it takes a little more, it costs more, and that funding is not always available.
Yeah. And like you said, if families wait until they can come up with some funding, odds are they're not going to find a spot in there. So the earlier they can get that, you know, there are better chances of getting into a camp that will be great fit for their child.
The other thing I want to talk about for our conference that's also awesome is we also have an entrepreneurial classroom. So they also are nominated in part of our recognition night too, but they also come and can sell whatever items it is that they create within their store. So last year we had the Elk Den, which is in the Traverse City area here in Michigan. And the Elk Den came and they sold a lot of their stuff at our conference. So they had water bottles, they had stickers, they had t-shirts, they had all kinds of stuff. And so it's a way for some of these entrepreneurial classrooms to also make money, but also showcase the amazing things that they're doing in their classrooms as well. We have our student board that also attends that. They actually have a classroom that designs and makes our t-shirts to be able to sell at conference. So when you guys are there, make sure you guys get some conference swag when you come. The students will be selling it.
Okay.
They'll also have stickers too and things like that. So a lot of us really love the entrepreneurial classroom, and even our board sometimes like buys up so much from them because we just love all the kids in the entrepreneurial classroom. So we're excited to have another one again this year, and then the student board to be able to sell their stuff as well too. So it helps the student board to send one student or maybe even two to our national conference. It helps them to do activities of their own as a student board. So that's really exciting too.
The other cool thing about the student board being at conferences, they do a make and take session.
Yes.
So students who are, at some point in their college career can come in and make some kind of thing that they can immediately take and use either in their student teaching or have for when they graduate and start their own classrooms.
Yeah.
And it's always attended. It's a great session.
Wow, we
I
got
really like that.
Yeah, that is. It's a lot going on at the conference. Well, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited for us to attend. So, woo.
I hope you brought your walking shoes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love to walk.
Walking.
I keep my watch on all day long because I love to walk. Now, let's go back to the basics. Tell us about the Michigan Council for Exceptional Children. Tell us everything about you. Just the conference alone, I can tell you guys get involved in a lot. So if you all can start us from step one.
Do you want to go ahead, Dania?
I was just going to say, like, our core purpose really as a board is strength in the field of special education so that we can impact as many students and families as possible. And we strong board of directors who touch the field in so many different ways. Many of our board members have either siblings or children of their own with special needs, so they're living it as well as working in the field. So we get some great perspectives for them. And then also we advocate. We attend events that Nicole mentioned, CELS, which is our Special Education Legislative Summit in Washington, D.C. We also do some networking with legislators here in the state of Michigan because they need to hear from the people in the field to know how we can impact that change. So I feel like that is kind of a large part of what we do is making sure that voices are heard.
Yeah. Our main goal within Michigan Council for Exceptional Children is really to improve success for children and even adults with disabilities and gifts and talents too. So we do a lot of that, not only with our conference, we offer a lot of like professional development, not only just for teachers, but for members as well too. So we have different series that talk about different topics. So last year we did a 2-part series on culturally responsive education and talking about that. We've done IEP compliance. We talked about IEP writing for those that maybe are new in the field. And so we offer different types of sessions for people to be able to attend virtually. Usually they're like an hour in the afternoon time, and we offer those for free. So that way people can attend if they need to. And I know sometimes life gets busy. And so if they can't attend live, then they can always watch the playback to be able to hear about whatever topic it was that they signed up for to listen to. So we offer that as well, which has been really valuable, especially during the COVID time when, most people were at home and didn't have, really anywhere to go. So that was really kind of their lifeline to be able to get the information that they needed. But The other thing that we do that we really enjoy is we also network in our national conference through National CEC. So our board did attend that. And so that's all of the board members that would be within, obviously, the different states here. We also had people, I believe they said, from 20 different countries as well at the national conference. So myself and a few other board members went to San Antonio last March to be able to network to do everything that they had at the national conference. So that was a lot of fun too. A way bigger like vendor area in there, but still really nice to network with others across, the United States and in different parts of the world. So that was really cool. So we do a lot of that. We do also host a math conference that's actually going to be happening here in, I think, a couple weeks. And so it's one of our bigger things. I believe it's actually at Washtenaw ISD. So Crystal, that's
Wow.
you.
That is.
So it's called Emerald. And so we have that conference every year as well. And so we have a lot of special educators that attend. We have a lot of math professionals that attend. And so that's one of our other conferences that we do. It's on a much smaller scale. And it's only a 1-day conference, but we have that coming up as well in a couple weeks too.
So what does that focus on when you say that conference? Is it for like the special needs individuals that are you enlightening their math abilities, or what does that consist of?
So in my understanding of it is that it's more or less like integrating math like within special education. Does that make kind of like that? Danny, I see you shaking your head. Yes.
This conference in particular is focused mainly at educators because it's teaching them how to, like Nicole mentioned, embed those everyday math skills that we're doing within that special education world. How can we teach these kind of life math skills, or even on curriculum? How can we adapt math curriculum to meet the varied styles of learning?
Yeah.
So is it when I hear?
So it is next week.
So when I hear math, I'm thinking of like counting money, like those are life skills in a sense, like highlighting those everyday life skills.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really more or less teaching, like sometimes maybe a general ed math teacher who really doesn't have the skills or the strengths to really be able to, maybe adapt the curriculum to somebody that maybe has a math disability or has an IEP and struggles. How can we take the math content, but also make it relatable for those students that have IEPs and that may have, different challenges as well too. So I think that's more like kind of how that conference works.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I really like that because I do love that a lot of our students are able to be included in like the general ed curriculum. And I think that's a beautiful thing. But sometimes I do think maybe the teacher just maybe could just use a little bit more knowledge in an area of how to make sure that kid is able to learn, especially according to their level. So I really like that's offered, a conference is available, and that the educators can attend.
We also partner with, and Nicole may be able to speak to this a little more than me because I'm an early childhood person, but we also partner with the Mitten and do a lot with the adult transition programming throughout Michigan.
Yes. So we have a representative that is for our the Mitten project. And so if you're not familiar with Mitten, Mitten was started a few years ago. And what it is it's actually a series of modules for our like 18 to 26 group. I actually use them also with my high school students, but they are modules that were developed by special ed teachers for special ed teachers to teach basic concepts. So for example, my students today actually did the one on changing a light bulb. So what it is it's a 10-question pretest. They go through the module of learning how to change the light bulb. And then while they're in the module, they can get like helpful hints or things that they may need while they're completing the module. Then the module at the end kind of spits out like a report card, sort of say of like what areas they did well in and where they need improvement. And then they take a post test after. And so they have many different ones. There's one about like cleaning a room, oven safety, kitchen safety.
Mm.
There's one about grocery shopping, all of those types of things. And so I think Mitten is actually one of our Wednesday workshops at the conference this year. Dr. Lois Van Heusen, she is a little ball of energy with pearls on, but she's amazing. And she does so many great things with the Mitten Project. So she is going to be one of our Wednesday workshop presenters this year. But my kids really love Mitten. It takes those real life skills and puts it in a way that they understand, and a way that they can actually, still visually do it, even though they're not actually completing the task. But in a sense, they really are, just not physically doing it. But yeah, so we love Mitten. Mitten is great. We do partner with them. And so they're one of our big partners for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that. I definitely like that, because I know with my daughter, she does do a lot of life skills, but that sense of accomplishment that she has afterwards, oh my goodness, we kudo her all day long. She looked forward to a high five. So that is a great thing, because ultimately they want to feel as though that they can accomplish things as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, they may have to go a different road, or take a couple of more steps than someone else, but ultimately they can do it. And I love that.
Yeah. So, and then we do have an actual entity that's also part of Michigan Council. And Dania, you could probably speak more to it than I can, because you're in early childhood, but we have an extension, which is DEC, which is Division of Early Childhood. So, and they have their own conference as well too. So I know, Dania, you can talk more about that than I can.
Yeah. So Michigan Division for Early Childhood is a division of Michigan Council for Exceptional Children, and very similar structure, has a board of directors, offers an annual conference, although I'm also involved with Michigan DEC. So we just switched from an annual conference to a biannual conference, because the state of Michigan every other year hosts the Michigan Early On Conference, which focuses on children birth to 3. So what they were finding was a lot of people were having to choose which of those two to go to when it was an every year offering. So they decided to go to an every other year. So it will be next fall at Eastern Michigan University. And so we're just in the initial, very beginning planning stages of that. And that's pretty exciting. They work closely with us. They have a representative from Michigan DEC, actually has 2 representatives, because I'm on the board of both, but so we have 2 representatives from Michigan DEC that sit on the Michigan CEC board. And so we can have that kind of dialogue back and forth, and how are you supporting, and what are you offering? Michigan DEC will, almost all of the board members will host a session at our conference for either parents or educators of children who are in the birth to 6-year-old world. Which is great. We have that partnership where they'll come and really create an early childhood strand at our conference. So that's really exciting too.
So that kind of lines up with the Maryland. I want to say it's like an infant and toddler program.
Yeah. Very similar.
Okay. Wow.
Well, I really, I'm learning so much about the council and how big it is, and it seems like it just bursts other like entities, like and so it's a lot to take in, but I think that it only feels that way because visually maybe I'm not seeing how effective in each part. But I also want to know, like, what are the roles that you and Nicole play? Like, what are the things that you specifically do within the council?
Well, I can speak first. So I do mostly everything related to membership. So if you are, like looking to be a member, I help districts try to get like good group rate, for members, because that's a lot of times a cheaper option for districts. And so I'm really in that recruiting of how we can get more members involved in Michigan Council for Exceptional Children. I co-chair a committee with Dania, because we do have committees in our organization as well, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, at some point, the different committees that we have. But I sit on two of the committees. So the one that Dania and I co-chair, which is communication and membership, which deals a lot with our social media, which is more of Dania's part on that. And then the membership piece of our committee talks about what are some ways we can get, people to join our organization. And so we write a goal every year, and our goal this year for our committee was increasing parent membership and caregiver membership. So that way people can know that there are resources out there and tools for them to be, successful and helpful for anybody in their family. And then I also sit on our finance committee. So I work with our wonderful, Dania's laughing because we just had a finance committee meeting like literally a couple days ago. We work with our wonderful representative at Morgan Stanley, and he helps us with our money and manage our money and what financial decisions we should be making in the market and things like that. And so he is one part of our meeting. And then the second part, our committee talks about, how our money is going, where is our money going, and do we need to be, financially responsible with any of the purchases we're making, or as it relates to conference, what are the things that we're, prioritizing for cost for conference this year? What are some things that maybe we're cutting back on, and all of those types of things. So that's kind of my role. I also go to the national conference every year. So I went to San Antonio last year. This year it'll be actually in Baltimore. This year is the national conference. So so that'll be in Baltimore. And then I usually attend what we call is our leadership. And that's usually where we come together as different members of different states, and we network and do all of that. And that's also in Washington, D.C. It's usually right after the Special Education Legislative Summit. So that's kind of my role in the organization. I will preface and say that Dania and I are both volunteers. So we do have paid staff on our board, but most of our board members are volunteers. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so they take time out of their schedules to be able to be on our board. So
well, before we start, before Dania starts, I hear you keep saying national. I know we did briefly talk about that, and we plan to also attend the Maryland one as well. But can you, off the top of your head, do you know where else we have some of these Council for Exceptional Children? Because I'm gonna be honest, even though I live in the DMV, I've never heard of this.
So we pretty much have one in pretty much almost every state. I know that we just started one like in Washington, D.C. is our latest one. But pretty much every single state has some sort of a Council for Exceptional Children. So we've even had people from Hawaii at the national conference. We've had Washington State all the way to Maryland, where you guys are, Florida, Arizona. So pretty much every state has a Council for Exceptional Children. Whatever that state calls it, is up to that state. But generally, most of the states have one.
Another question for me from a membership standpoint, as a parent, tell me, why is it a benefit for me to be a member of this MCEC?
Well, no matter where you're located in whatever part of the country you are, there's just so much networking that comes along with this that I think it's really invaluable. You're really with people that walk the same lines as you, because whether they have a family member that has special needs, their own child, they're an educator for somebody with special needs. There's just that networking is so wonderful, and you get to meet so many amazing people, and you can lean on these people, and they offer so much for you. Regardless if you do any of the professional development or any of those types of things. I also think that whatever state you're in, it's worth it to even attend. Most of the states generally have their own conference as well. And I think that it's worthwhile to even attend that, because you meet so many people that you may not have even known. And I feel like when we have our national conference, the amount of people that network and then come back year after year and say, oh my gosh, I remember you from last year. Like, it's so great to see you. How's everything going? I think that that's what makes us feels so good on the board is we know that we're forming those relationships for people, and people feel like they have a purpose and they have a sense of community. I mean, I know that Dania and I last year, we worked the booth where like people turn in like for their continuing education hours. And I just think the amount of people that came up in groups and clusters and people that didn't even know each other, started even forming those connections while standing there waiting in line for us, I think is absolutely wonderful and invaluable. And I know for parents and caregivers, being in this field for, over a decade now, people, parents say they feel so alone. They feel that they don't have somebody to go to, or they don't know where to turn to. And I feel like our organization is one of those things where you can be brought in and you will find somebody that is walking along with you, not, away from you or anything like that. And so I think a lot of people also feel, isolated within, their districts or maybe within their families as well. And I think that when they attend our conference or any of our professional developments or anything like that, they not only get that sense of community, but there's also so much knowledge being shared that I think that that's also invaluable too. And Dania, I don't know if you want to add anything to that as well.
And the only thing I would add is that access to other organizations, right? So we do a lot of partnering with, we mentioned the Mitten Project, Michigan DEC. We partner with Michigan Alliance for Families, which is also a great support to families. They usually present at our conference, have a booth. So we actually have a member from Michigan Alliance for Families on our communication and membership committee this year. Or I'm sorry, on our conference planning committee, which is awesome because her first time attending the conference was last year and she was super excited about it and just about how accessible the conference was to people. And then she had some thoughts that are maybe things we hadn't thought about because she was thinking about it from the family perspective. So it's always great to bring that in too, when we can have that kind of connection of how can we make this appropriate and accessible to everyone. So, and families, of course, are important to reach that information. We never want families to feel like they can't find the resources they need.
And I think it's also worth sharing that we have a bunch of different committees within our organization. And we're always looking for parents to be able to join our committees because, a lot of us are educators. And so we wear that educator hat. And so it's also nice to have that parent lens to be able to have in our committees. So like Dania and I talked about, we co-chair a committee together. We have a finance committee. We have a professional development committee who does all of our professional development related to our professional development series that we do over the course of the year. We have our recognition and scholarship committee. So they are the ones that do everything recognition and scholarship for our conference, as well as the camperships and the college scholarships that we give out. That committee is really wonderful because you can hear all of the people that are submitted for those awards. Unfortunately, they have the difficult decision of narrowing how many people can get an award. And so that's always really tough every year because they get so many teachers and so many parents and so many students. And so that one's a really wonderful one to be on because you get to hear all the amazing things that kids and paraprofessionals and teachers are doing, in the field. So that's always a great one to attend. We do also have a legislative and action committee as well, too. And they do everything related to legislation for our state. Our chair for that one also attends the Special Education Legislative Summit in DC. And that committee, actually last year, we had a few council members from the Michigan area come and do their own breakout session within our conference as well. And that was mostly in part to our to that committee, the legislative committee. So we have that one as well. And I think I got them all right, Dania?
Yes.
It's like I got them all.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so
It
there's
is.
a lot of committees.
Yes.
And, when we talk about committees, we also want to be respectful that, everybody has a life too outside of,
Yes.
Michigan Council. And so, all of our meetings are once a month. We meet for only an hour and we meet virtually. So we're always welcoming parents or caregivers or anybody that really wears that lens to be able to join one of our committees, because we're always looking for more input and we always are looking for different ideas. So, and then you can talk about the conference committee if you'd like, because I know you're on that one, Dania.
So, my main role on Michigan Council for Exceptional Children is I'm the secretary. I'm the one typing all those notes at every
Oh my
meeting.
goodness.
But in addition, I co-chair with Nicole the membership and communications, and as she mentioned, kind of like monitoring and making sure our social media goes off well. And it's not just me doing it. Nicole and I, both work together, and then we have our executive associate who anything that really contains like Michigan Council for Exceptional Children branding, she will make those graphics for us. But and then on top of that, I am also on the finance committee with Nicole and the conference planning committee. So we start working almost immediately after the conference ends on the next year's conference.
You have to get started.
Yep, right away. So we look at, finding those Wednesday workshop people and our keynote person. And then off of that, we kind of build our theme for the conference, and look at hopefully making the best schedule for the week that allows people to attend a variety of things and not having everything at the same time. Like we don't want all the early childhood sessions offered at the exact same time. So making that schedule, we use these giant boards and we're moving stuff around and putting it in different places to hopefully create like a great agenda for people to be able to take part in.
Now, what I hear you talk about the national convention. What are some of the topics that you all collaborate on nationally, with like the other states? Like, do you all have like any one topic or a couple of topics that when you meet, it's like you all collaborate on to get things done?
That would be a Nicole question because I'm not national.
Some things can be statewide, other things
Right.
can be national. So what are some of those topics that from a national standpoint can be, something you all got to jump in and get your hands on?
So I will preface that those of us that went to San Antonio last year, we didn't do any like presenting at the conference. We just attended sessions through the conference. Myself and he's now our past president, but he was our president last year, attended this amazing workshop about like the legalities of special education. Now, like when most people think about law, they think like kind of boring, like how can you make that exciting? It was like the most exciting and most enriching session we had been to. I think we both walked out and we were like, wow, like this is amazing. We've got to get her for our conference. But she made it so interactive and, like special ed law that applies everywhere, right? IDA applies everywhere. It's not just, Michigan. So there were a lot of great ones about the law, excuse me. And then they had a few legislative ones. They did have, people from the White House come and like talk about, what's going on in special education. And again, that's kind of everywhere too, right? That kind of, trickles down eventually to the states. We also attended some great ones on assistive technology. They had even a bigger assistive technology playground that we had, but also a lot presented on the different types of assistive technology. Specifically, a lot of the topics were about AI and how AI is coming about now and, how AI will be, how that looks in the special education world and things like that. But they had so many more, breakout sessions than, we have at our conference. So it was a very big magnitude of sessions. And so they also had an amazing keynote speaker as well, who delivered a great address about culturally responsive, education and things like that. And he did an amazing job. So there's a lot of those topics that are pretty cohesive that go along in our national conference. So I know that they've been planning this one even since the one from last year ended. So so they have a lot of sessions. So if you have not been, that you will be very, I guess, diverse with what you're going to be coming back with in terms of knowledge, because they have a lot of sessions. So,
And when is
And
that
that's
one
what I keep
again?
hearing, like
Yeah,
the
I'm
sessions.
excited.
And it's like how, yeah.
So the national one is in March. I believe it's March 13th through the 16th, and I believe that one's in Baltimore.
I'm
Yes, we
excited.
talked about that one,
Yeah, I
Paula.
wanna,
Yeah.
I wanna definitely. I didn't know that was the national one. You know what I thought
Yeah.
that was?
I
I
thought it was
thought
for
that was just the
Maryland.
Maryland session. That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, no, that one is the national one. Definitely, like,
Wow.
everybody comes to that one. So
Oh, I want to go to that.
I would say, even though I haven't been to national, I would say some of the things that we work on here in our state specifically around legislation and legislative action is also a focus at national level. I mean, we're all, we have to get the word out. We have to advocate for making sure special education gets funded, that we have
Yep.
teachers to teach it, right? Because we
Yep.
know there's a teacher shortage in a lot of areas right now.
Yeah.
So that is a topic in our state. It's also a topic for national.
right.
You're right. It's funny because when you think about that, you don't think that that's a nationwide thing. You know, when
Yeah.
yeah, it's like after the pandemic, a lot has changed with the schools and the
Yeah.
amount of services. And even if the services are available, they don't have the people to deliver those services. So definitely that's a lot of things that, that need to be talked about. And I will say too, one thing that I find deficient in our area is a lot of the services outside of the school, like the ABA therapy. And I know with my daughter, the ABA, the physical therapy, a lot of these things that are available outside of the school, there has always been a wait list for them. I mean, and she was on those wait lists from the time that she was maybe like 4 or 5, and they had like 1,800 people on the wait list. So when you think about some of those things, it's not that um our kids are definitely always in need, but unfortunately that's always been somewhat of a deficiency, the staff. And then after the pandemic, it got worse.
Mhm.
Yeah, so those are things I'm really, I would love to. I'm looking forward to going to the nationals because
Yeah.
my thing is sometimes again when you think about things happening in your neighborhood or in your state, you don't think that it happens nationwide. So it's interesting.
Right.
That's why I asked that question. It's interesting to see what is happening on a national level versus just on a state level.
And oh, go ahead, Tina.
I was going to say the one thing in Michigan that stands out that's very different from a lot of states is we're a birth to 26 state in the public schools.
Yeah,
We
see,
are the last remaining state that is birth
yeah,
to 26, in fact.
yeah,
So we got to hold on to that tight while we got it.
yeah.
And so that's some of the work that those groups specifically would be
And
charged
that's some of the
with.
things that I would love to see happening to some of the states because ours is 21. And I think when Crystal told me that, I was like, wow, because as we know, by the time our special needs individuals get to 21, especially those that are on the certificate roll,
Mhm.
at 21, most of them are not even ready to come out of school, but they're pushed out. And then parents are left to figure out where can they go. So that's still a dilemma. And I would love to have that nationwide. I mean, especially for those that are on the certificate roll, for that, because where do our kids go? We have some, of course, that are on their way to post-secondary, which is great. But for our kids that are not ready for that, what do we do?
Right.
And I
Right.
appreciate that moving to Michigan. I did, even though I'm from Washington, D.C., I've lived in Texas and Tennessee prior to coming to Michigan. And coming to the state and hearing that, of course, my child at the time was very young, just going to first grade. But that has been so beneficial. And it was, we moved to this state because of a job. And sometimes my husband say, hey, I got another opportunity here. And I'm like, you can go. But
Yeah.
like, absolutely. I was like, no, if we move somewhere, my oldest child is 24, then her that's she's greatly affected.
Yeah.
She's very active here in Special Olympics and things. And so I just moving to the state of Michigan has really been beneficial, and it has been enlightening to me as a parent, as an advocate for my children. The more I learn, I have surrounded myself with good support groups, other parents that are like me. And that's why I love that Paula and I are able to talk with other parents, because we found that that is the best way to help support a parent who does feel alone. And then we try to get involved with other organizations and learning about Michigan Council for Exceptional Children, and knowing that it's a national, if I'm correct, it's an international organization. And that, no matter where you're located, if you look it up and see what's offered, and then there's the national convention that they're having, I think this is a really, really good opportunity. And so I just want to get back to the question I was about to ask about these breakout sessions, because it sounds like Nicole, Dania, how do you guys narrow down? Because it's just, and you said and I love that you were very strategic in how you put it out there so that people can get a little bit of something they don't feel. But I'm like a little nervous, because I'm like, I'm always one of those people like, I'm gonna miss out on this if I go to this or something like that. So I mean, like, I'm looking forward to it. But how do you guys, especially when you go to the national, Nicole, like you were saying, you found the session that you attended to be amazing. But what if another one was going on like you? So how does that work? How does that work? Like what if, as a parent, I'm a parent, and maybe an educator would go with a different lens on of what, but as a parent, what is something that I could look forward to, like that I should consider when, like, what breakout session?
So I think for our conference, and Dania, you can speak to this too, but I think as a parent, especially when we do the breakout, like the over 90 breakout sessions, right? Obviously we can't attend all 90, but really where you are in that stage of, your child's education, right? So if birth to 3 is where you need to be, then I think that that's, really the target focus. If it's, transition, then that's, the focus there too. There's also ones, if maybe you're not very versed in, the legality behind special education, we have a few of those. Maybe as a parent, you've never had an IEP before, and this is, the first time that you're experiencing even anything, special education, we recommend going that route. I think it's picking where you are in that stage in that in your child's education, and what best fits your needs, if that makes sense for me, especially for the 90 breakout sessions. Now for the Wednesday workshops, they're all really great. So I don't know how to choose just one in the morning and one in the afternoon, but I will make that decision too. But like for me, I wear a parent hat, but I also wear an educator hat too. And, for me, it makes the most sense to go to, the mitten one in the morning, because for me, that's what I'm using. That's what I, need to continue to grow in for my own, job and everything like that. And so the afternoon ones, it might be about, just getting honed in again on IEPs, because I think, even being in, education for a long time, we think we know everything about IEPs, and there's always something new and surprising coming out. So Dania, I don't know how you guys make that decision really. So
when I'm choosing, I really try to get myself to think outside the box, because I am an early childhood person. I did teach middle school my very first year teaching, and then I ran to early childhood, because back then there wasn't a teacher shortage when I graduated college with my degree, and you kind of had to go where there was an opening at that point. And middle school is not my thing.
Not mine.
So I kind of have to think outside the box a little bit, and not necessarily think, is this something I need right now for my job, but is this something that can impact me in a way that I can impact families and students better? We get a lot of proposal submissions. We have a group of people who review them. We have a very detailed rubric that we go through when we're choosing our sessions, because we want to make sure they're high quality and we want them to be meaningful, because like you said,
Yeah.
there are 90 to choose from. So we would hate for somebody to sit in one that isn't the quality we want it to be and miss out on something that's amazing that's going on at that same time. So it's really, looking in depth at their proposals, their history, their background, their experiences in the world of special education,
Mhm.
which you wouldn't know, but just know that we are putting all that thought into them while we're choosing them, because we
Mhm.
really want them to all be high quality and valuable to our attendees.
So, Dania, do you think I could share what our Wednesday workshops are? I mean, they are
Sure.
online. So, just so people can get kind of what we're going to be offering. So strengthening effective transition services using Mitten modules. So that's kind of the Mitten project we've been talking about.
Mhm.
And supplemental lesson plans, special education discipline. So the must knows and common missteps, co-teaching. So striving for positive results. We have one on LRE and IDEA, which now in Michigan, LRE is a very hot topic right now. So we also have one for AAC for the augmentative and alternative communication and building connections through that. How to develop and maintain trust in school and family partnerships, and unifying your school through Special Olympics. Educational benefit review for IEP teams. So those are our Wednesday workshops that we're offering for this conference.
Those sound really nice.
Exactly. I'm sitting here just deciding, like, yeah.
They're great speakers.
Mm.
Our 90 breakout sessions, the proposals are just coming in. So we have not set that piece yet. That proposals come in through the first week of December, and then we meet as a group in December to do that kind of planning of, okay, we've picked our sessions. Now let's see who we don't want to put at the same time.
So I hear you guys, and when I just tell you, my mind is blown. Just the fact that you guys are volunteers. As a
Yes.
parent, yes, as a parent, I would love to know what's your driving force, Dania and Nicole, because I know that we sometimes we say that people go into this field because they have a special needs sister or mother, or and that becomes their passion. What is your driving force for being a volunteer? Because all the things that you guys do, I'm like, and you're volunteering, that's awesome.
Well, for me, I'm one of those people who knew at 5 she wanted to be a teacher, but what I didn't know is that I wanted to be a special education teacher till I got to college, and I worked at the Child Development Center on campus and ended up ultimately being kind of like a one-on-one for a student or that they were struggling with. In hindsight now, I know that that student probably was on the autism spectrum. And since that day, the driving force for me has been young children in the birth to 6 realm and their families, because this is the first time families are hearing their child might be a little different than they expected. And so really supporting families through that time and making sure that the resources they need to be successful are available to them.
I love that. Oh, that is awesome.
Wow.
And I never thought about it from the birth to that point. You're right. You're almost kind of going through a transition with your child. So at that point, to me, not that you don't need support at every
For
level,
sure.
but you definitely need it because you're coming to terms with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Learning the process and coming to terms with it.
I think for me, I was kind of like Dania too. Like I always wanted to be a teacher. That was something that I always knew. I didn't know that special education was for me. It just kind of found me. I have a friend whose son is on the autism spectrum, and he just really touched my heart in the way that I had never seen the world before. And I was like, this is so amazing. And so I went to school and got my degree. And while I was going to school, I actually became a paraprofessional. I worked at a center-based program for students on the spectrum, and I completely fell in love with it. And I loved every single second of that job that I did. And, now my biggest thing and the biggest motto that I strive to have is I want to do what's best for kids and best for their families. And I work at that high school age now. And so like Dania, where, parents are hearing for the first time that, there may be something different with their child. We're looking at, the part of, graduating high school, and, parents are thinking that, their child's life now is officially, done because, high school's over. Now what? And so I love giving parents that second piece that says, look at all these post-secondary programs that we can offer this student to 26, and look at all these job skills that we can get for them. And I love taking our students out in the community and showing the community what amazing workers they can be. And we've had some of our students get jobs in the local community because the community is really seeing that these students are amazing and they have so many skills to offer. And so I love advocating for these kids and, these adults and their families, because I just think they bring so much joy and happiness and wonderful things to the world. And I just love being a part of that. So for sure.
Wow. I love it. And I always say it has to be a passion. It has to, because I know sometimes you're driven by, like people in your family, but I've heard some people, just like you guys, you were sucked in and you just did not want to let go. There definitely has to be a passion, because it's either you have it or you don't. Because as we know, it's not like you get paid a whole lot of money to, do this job. So it definitely has to be a passion. And I applaud you, ladies. I do. I definitely applaud you. And I do want to say, in closing, first of all, I thank you guys for taking your evening to come on here to tell us a lot about the Council for Exceptional Children. When Nicole reached out to me, I was so excited because it was, again, something that I had never heard of, and I wanted to learn more about it. My goal as Morgan's mom and as the Advocacy founder is to learn as much as I can, because ultimately, if I can learn, I can pass this on to parents. And this is, again, why we have this platform, is to educate as many people as we can. So not only am I appreciate you guys coming on, but I appreciate you guys letting us know about these conferences, because again, education is so important. And at this point, I feel like I told you guys offline, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. And each time I scratch a surface, I want to learn more and more. So I'm looking forward to coming to Michigan. I'm looking forward to meeting you, Dania, and Nicole in person. I'm looking forward to learning as much as I can about the Council for Exceptional Children. And I'm looking forward to going to the Nationals. So again, thank you, ladies, for coming. Those are my closing remarks. Crystal, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, I've really enjoyed Nicole and Dania. I look forward to seeing you, meeting you in person. I definitely appreciate, I think I have a sense of it, of the hard work and the dedication and the commitment that you put into the committees that you work on, the attending other conferences. Just I can feel it as we're talking, going through picking, making sure it's worthwhile. You guys are very intentional. You don't want to waste anyone's time. You want us to get the most we can of any of the participants that they can out of the conferences. And that means a lot to me as a parent, as a former educator. And I just also just appreciate your personal time, stepping away from your families on this evening to just come and speak to others out there, speak to Paula and myself. I mean, this has been really beautiful and I really appreciate it. And then of course, you guys are here in Michigan. So we usually have a lot of guests from Maryland. And so it feels good to have someone here from Michigan. So I'm geeked.
We're very excited to have you at the conference and meet you both in person as well.
Yes. We're so excited to meet you both. And we can't wait to show you our conference and how awesome it is and fun and exciting. And within closing too, we are accepting board nominations right now. So if you live in the state of Michigan, whether you live in the lower or upper peninsula, we are accepting board applications to come and join our board. So if that's something that anybody is interested in, we have all the details on our social media to be able to do that. And we hope maybe that some of the listeners will come and attend our conference too.
All right.
That would be awesome.
Dania, you going to close us out?
Thank you so much. We are just, continuing to hopefully uphold the the people before us in Michigan Council for Exceptional Children and their mission, and really making an impact on children and their families.
Well, it looks like not only are you all continuing it on, but it seems like you are taking it higher, which is a great thing because, as we know, our needs of our family and our children are constantly evolving. I mean, I look at my mortgage pop now, and what I was dealing with 10 years ago is not even something I'm dealing with today. So I need that understanding. I'm still studying her to figure out what do I need to do next. So I appreciate it, and I look forward to attending the conference. Thanks again, you ladies, and I pray that you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you in February.
Sounds amazing.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You.
No
Have a good
problem.
evening.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You too.